She handed her last $5 to a stranger at the gas station, just trying to avoid a scene. What she didn't know, he was the Mafia boss who'd fired her that morning. And now, with a bounty on both their heads, he was the only one who could clear her name. The fluorescent lights of the quick-stop gas station buzzed like angry wasps as Marina pushed through the glass door at 11:47 p.m. Her feet ached in shoes held together by determination and superglue. She had exactly $532 in her pocket, all that remained after today's disaster. Getting fired wasn't supposed to happen. Not to her. Not after 3 years of scrubbing floors and polishing marble until her knuckles cracked and bled. But it did happen, and now she needed to buy something, anything, to put in her daughter's lunchbox for tomorrow. Marina grabbed a sleeve of crackers and a small jar of peanut butter. Together they cost $487. Perfect. She'd have 45 cents left. Maybe enough for a piece of candy for Lily. The gas station was nearly empty except for the clerk scrolling through his phone and a man in a dark hoodie browsing the energy drinks. Marina didn't pay him much attention. At this hour, everyone looked suspicious. She approached the counter and set down her items. The clerk rang them up without looking at her. $4.87. Marina reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out her crumpled bills, a 5 and some coins. As she smoothed the money on the counter, she heard footsteps behind her. "Just this," a deep voice said. The man in the hoodie placed a Red Bull and a bag of beef jerky on the counter. The clerk scanned them. $6.50. The man reached for his back pocket, then his front pockets, then his jacket. His movements became faster, more frantic. He patted himself down like he was on fire. "I had my wallet," he muttered. I had it." The clerk sighed heavily. "No wallet, no sale, man. I left it in the car. Give me 30 seconds. Can't hold merchandise without payment. Store policy." Marina watched the man's jaw tighten. Even with the hoodie shadowing his face, she could see the tension radiating from him. Something about his posture, the way he stood like he owned the ground beneath his feet, felt familiar. She glanced at the door. Through the window, she could see his car. A sleek black sedan with tinted windows. The engine was running. That's when she noticed something odd. The driver's seat was empty, but someone else sat in the back, waiting. "Look," the man said, his voice dropping lower. "I'll come back in 5 minutes with cash. Just." "No can do." The man's hand moved to his hip, just slightly, and Marina's stomach dropped. She'd lived in this neighborhood long enough to recognize that gesture. He was either reaching for a weapon or stopping himself from reaching for one. "Here." Marina heard her own voice before her brain caught up with her mouth. She slid her $5 bill across the counter. "Take this." Both men turned to look at her. "Ma'am, you don't have to," the clerk started. "It's fine," Marina interrupted, even though it absolutely wasn't fine. That $5 was supposed to feed her daughter. But the alternative, watching this situation escalate into something violent, felt worse. "Just take it." The man in the hoodie stared at her for a long moment. Up close, she could see more of his face. Sharp jawline. Dark eyes that seemed to calculate 1,000 things at once. There was something about those eyes. "You sure?" he asked.
"No."
"Yes." He nodded slowly, then pulled back his hood just enough to see her better. That's when Marina's heart stopped. Dante Caldero. Her former boss. The man who owned the penthouse she'd cleaned for 3 years. The man whose assistant had fired her this morning with no explanation, no severance, nothing but a cardboard box and an escort to the elevator. Recognition flickered across his face too. His eyes widened slightly.
"Marina."
She couldn't breathe. Of all the gas stations in Chicago, at all the possible times, she'd just given her last $5 to the multi-millionaire who'd ruined her life 12 hours ago. The clerk cleared his throat. "So are we doing this, or?" "Yeah," Dante said, not breaking eye contact with Marina. "Ring it up." The clerk processed the transaction. Marina grabbed her crackers and peanut butter with shaking hands. She needed to leave.
"Now."
Marina, wait. She was already moving toward the door when the sound of screeching tires cut through the night. Dante's head snapped toward the window. The black sedan was speeding out of the parking lot, leaving him stranded. No, he breathed. Two more cars, both dark SUVs, were pulling into the lot.
Fast.
Dante grabbed Marina's arm. His grip was iron. You need to leave. Right now.
What?
Let go of me. I'm serious. Walk to your car.
Don't run.
Don't look back.
Go.
The intensity in his voice froze her. This wasn't the composed businessman she'd seen in tailored suits, sipping espresso, while taking phone calls in Italian. This was someone else entirely. Someone afraid.
Why?
What's happening? They're not here for gas. The SUVs parked on either side of the entrance, boxing in the building. 4 men got out. They wore normal clothes, jeans, jackets, but the way they moved was coordinated.
Military.
Marina's survival instincts kicked in. She'd grown up in neighborhoods where you learned to read danger in the air. This was danger. My car is around the side, she whispered. Then go.
Now.
But she didn't move. Couldn't move. Because one of the men was already at the door, and when he pulled it open, she saw the gun tucked into his waistband. Dante stepped in front of her, blocking her from view. Gentlemen, he said calmly. This is unexpected. The lead man smiled. He was young, maybe 30, with a scar running through his left eyebrow. Mr. Caldero, we've been looking for you. I can see that. Tell Vincent I'll call him in the morning. Vincent didn't send us, the man's smile widened. Marco did. Something changed in Dante's expression. A flash of understanding, then anger, then something that looked like resignation.
Marco, Dante repeated softly.
Of course. Marina's mind raced. She'd heard that name before.
Marco Santini.
Dante's second in command. She'd cleaned his office too, had seen him dozens of times at the penthouse. He sends his regards, the scarred man continued. And a message. Your services are no longer required. The other 3 men fanned out, surrounding them. The clerk had disappeared somewhere behind the counter. Dante's hand moved slowly to his side. You know this won't end well for any of you. Maybe. But Marco's offering twice what you pay. Makes the risk worthwhile. Everything happened at once. Dante shoved Marina hard toward the side aisle as he drew a gun from beneath his jacket. She crashed into a display of chips as gunfire exploded through the store. Glass shattered. The fluorescent lights burst one by one. Marina crawled on her hands and knees toward the back exit, her ears ringing. Behind her, she could hear grunts, impacts, more gunshots. She hit the emergency exit bar and stumbled into the alley. The cold November air slapped her face. Her car was 20 feet away.
Run, run, run.
She fumbled for her keys, hands shaking so badly she dropped them twice. Finally, she got the door open and threw herself inside. The engine turned over on the 3rd try. As she peeled out of the parking lot, she glanced in her rearview mirror. Dante was sprinting from the alley, blood on his jacket, pursued by 2 of the men. He looked directly at her car as she passed. Their eyes met for a split second. Then Marina pressed the accelerator and drove into the night, leaving behind the Mafia boss who destroyed her life and whom she'd just saved with her last $5. Marina's hands wouldn't stop shaking on the steering wheel. She'd made it 3 blocks before her conscience, that stupid, self-destructive part of her brain, forced her foot onto the brake. What was she doing? She should be halfway home by now. She should be locking her doors, grabbing Lily from Mrs. Chen's apartment, and pretending tonight never happened. Instead, she found herself pulling into a parking spot near the corner, her headlights off, watching her rearview mirror like it held the answers to questions she was too afraid to ask. 2 minutes passed. Then 5. She was about to leave when she saw them, the 2 men from the gas station, walking quickly down the sidewalk. They passed under a streetlight, and Marina sank lower in her seat. The scarred one was on his phone. The other kept his hand inside his jacket. They turned into the alley behind the gas station. This is insane. Marina whispered to herself. Go home. This isn't your problem. But her fingers were already turning off the ignition. Her hand was already reaching for the door handle. She'd spent 3 years cleaning up after Dante Caldero's world. She'd wiped blood from bathroom tiles after business meetings. She'd found bullet holes in walls that were mysteriously repaired by the next day. She'd learned not to ask questions, not to see things, not to exist beyond the person who made everything spotless. And this morning, that world had thrown her away like trash. Maybe she just needed to see it. Needed to confirm that the man who'd cost her everything was exactly the monster she'd convinced herself he was. Then she could drive away with a clear conscience. Marina got out of her car and walked toward the alley, staying close to the buildings. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Every instinct screamed at her to turn back. The alley was dark except for a single security light halfway down. Dumpsters lined both sides, creating shadows deep enough to hide anything. She pressed herself against the brick wall and moved forward slowly. Voices echoed off the narrow space. Should have stayed down when you had the chance, that was the scarred man. Marco's making a mistake, Dante's voice, steady despite everything. You know that. Marco's making himself rich. That's what I know. Marina peered around a dumpster. Dante stood in the center of the alley, his hoodie torn, blood seeping through his shirt. But his posture was still that of a man in control. The two men faced him, guns drawn, but not yet aimed. He's already moved the shipment, the scarred man continued. Already made contact with the Russians. By tomorrow morning, he'll have enough votes from the families to declare you legally dead. Your empire becomes his empire. Using my own protocols against me, Dante said with a bitter laugh. Creative. You taught him well. I taught him loyalty. The scarred man shrugged. Loyalty doesn't pay for a villa in Tuscany. Marina's foot hit an empty beer bottle. The sound was like a gunshot in the silence. All three men turned toward her hiding spot. We got company, the second man said, already moving in her direction. Marina's blood turned to ice. She spun and ran, not caring about stealth anymore. Behind her, footsteps pounded against the pavement. She made it 10 feet before a hand grabbed her jacket and yanked her backward. She stumbled, crashing against the alley wall. The second man loomed over her, his face expressionless. Well. The cleaning lady, he grabbed her arm and dragged her toward the others. Look who couldn't mind her own business. Marina struggled, but his grip was like steel. He shoved her into the dim light where Dante and the scarred man stood. Up close, she could see the damage. Dante's lip was split, and a cut above his eyebrow dripped blood into his eye. But what struck her most was his expression when he saw her. Not anger, but something closer to regret. Let her go, Dante said quietly. She's nobody. She was just nobody. The scarred man stepped closer to Marina, studying her face. She gave you money at the station. I saw it through the window before we came in. She helped you. She's a civilian who was in the wrong place. She's a witness. The scarred man pulled out his phone and took Marina's picture. She heard the camera click 3 times. Marco will want to know who's helping you. Terror flooded through Marina's veins. I don't know anything. I was buying food for my daughter. That's all. I don't know anything about any of this. Your daughter, the scarred man repeated, looking at his phone screen. Good to know. Something shifted in Dante's face. The careful control cracked, just for a moment, and what Marina saw underneath was pure rage. Touch her or her kid, and what Marco's planning will look like mercy compared to what I'll do. The scarred man laughed. You're not in a position to make threats, boss. Or should I say, former boss. Dante moved so fast Marina almost missed it. His hand shot out, grabbed the scarred man's gun, and twisted. The man yelped as his wrist bent at an unnatural angle. The gun clattered to the ground. In the same motion, Dante swept the man's legs and used his falling body as a shield when the second man fired. The bullet hit the scarred man in the shoulder instead of Dante's head. Run! Dante shouted at Marina. This time she listened. She sprinted toward the street, expecting a bullet between her shoulder blades at any second. Behind her, she heard grunts, impacts, another gunshot. Marina burst out of the alley onto the sidewalk. A couple walking their dog jumped back in surprise.
She didn't stop.
She ran to her car, fumbling with the keys, her entire body shaking. The engine started. She threw the car into drive and accelerated, running a red light, then another. She drove for 20 minutes before she felt safe enough to breathe. When she finally pulled into her apartment complex's parking lot, she sat in the darkness, gripping the steering wheel, trying to process what had just happened. She'd witnessed a Mafia execution attempt. They'd taken her picture. They knew she had a daughter. And somewhere in the Chicago night, Dante Caldero was either dead or running for his life. Marina looked up at her apartment window on the 3rd floor. The lights were off. Lily was safe at Mrs. Chen's for the night. Thank God. But for how long would any of them be safe? She rested her forehead against the steering wheel and finally let herself cry. Marina stood in her daughter's empty bedroom, staring at the unicorn nightlight that cast purple shadows across the walls. It was 1:30 a.m. She'd been home for an hour, and every sound, every creak of the building, every car door closing outside, sent her pulse racing. She'd already checked the locks 3 times. Checked the windows. Looked through the peephole so many times she'd probably worn down the glass. Lily was still at Mrs. Chen's on the 2nd floor. The elderly woman had agreed to keep her overnight when Marina explained she'd been called in for a late cleaning job, another lie to add to the collection. Marina was becoming good at those. She should try to sleep. Tomorrow she needed to search for new work, needed to pretend everything was normal, needed to. A soft knock at the door froze her in place. 3 taps. Quiet. Almost hesitant. Marina's breath caught in her throat. Nobody knocked like that at 1:30 a.m. unless they didn't want neighbors to hear. She moved silently to the door and looked through the peephole. Dante Caldero stood in the hallway, one hand pressed against the doorframe for support. Blood had soaked through his jacket, and his face was pale in the flickering fluorescent light. Every survival instinct Marina possessed screamed at her to call 911 and stay silent. Let him collapse out there. Let someone else deal with this nightmare. But then he looked up, directly at the peephole, as if he could see her through it. Marina, he said quietly. I know you're there. I can hear you breathing. She stayed silent. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to warn you, he paused, wincing. They saw your face tonight. Your car. They'll track your plates by morning. Go away, Marina whispered, not sure if he could even hear her. I will. I just need. He swayed slightly, catching himself against the wall. I need 2 minutes. Then I disappear, and you never see me again. Marina's hand hovered over the deadbolt. This was insane. He was a criminal. A mafia boss. The reason she'd lost her job. The reason her life had imploded. But he was also bleeding out in her hallway. She unlocked the door and opened it just enough to see him clearly. Up close, he looked worse. The cut above his eyebrow was still bleeding, and the way he held his left side suggested broken ribs, maybe worse. How did you find me? She asked. I had everyone's addresses. All the staff, he coughed, and pain flashed across his face. Security protocol. In case of emergencies. This is an emergency? This is a war, he met her eyes. And you're in it now whether you want to be or not. Marina heard a door open somewhere below. Mr. Patterson from the 1st floor, probably taking out his late-night garbage. If he saw Dante here, if anyone saw, she made a decision she'd probably regret for the rest of her life. Get inside.
Now.
Dante stumbled through the doorway, and Marina quickly closed and locked it behind him. He made it 3 steps before his knees buckled. She caught him, barely, and half-dragged him to the couch. You're insane, she muttered.
I'm insane.
This is all insane. Agreed, he tried to smile, but it came out as more of a grimace. You should have let me bleed out in the hallway. Would have been smarter. Marina grabbed her first aid kit from the bathroom, A small plastic box she kept for Lily's scraped knees. It felt woefully inadequate for bullet wounds and whatever else was wrong with him. "Take off your jacket," she ordered. Dante struggled with the zipper. His hands were shaking, from blood loss, adrenaline, or both. Marina finally batted his hands away and unzipped it herself, trying not to think about how intimate this felt, how wrong this entire situation was. Under the jacket, his shirt was soaked red on the left side. She lifted it carefully. A bullet had grazed his ribs, tearing through skin and muscle, but missing anything vital. The real problem was the deep gash on his side, probably from when he'd hit something during the fight. "You need a hospital," Marina said.
Can't.
"They'll find me there." He leaned his head back against the couch. "Marco has people everywhere. Cops, doctors, city officials. He's been planning this for months." Marina pressed gauze against the wound, applying pressure. Dante hissed through his teeth, but didn't pull away. "Why?" she asked. "Why frame me? Why fire me this morning? What did I do?" Dante opened his eyes and looked at her. Really looked at her. "You didn't do anything. That's the problem." "I don't understand. 3 days ago, you cleaned the East office. The room with the mahogany desk and the painting of Venice."
Marina nodded.
She remembered. It had taken her 2 hours because someone had spilled red wine everywhere. "While you were cleaning, Marco was in the next room, transferring $40 million to an offshore account. My money. Going to the Russians in exchange for territory rights." Dante's jaw tightened. "You were never supposed to be there that day." He'd rearranged the cleaning schedule, but someone messed up. "You came in anyway." Understanding crashed over Marina like cold water. "He thought I saw something. He thought you might have seen something." That was enough. Dante coughed again, and fresh blood seeped through the gauze. "The jewelry he planted in your cart, it belonged to my late wife. He knew I'd recognize it, knew I'd have to fire you to avoid questions about why my staff was stealing from me. It gave him cover and removed a potential witness. So, he destroyed my life over a might-have? Welcome to my world." Marina wanted to scream, or cry, or throw him back out into the hallway. Instead, she got fresh gauze and kept pressure on the wound. "You said they saw my face. What does that mean?" Dante was quiet for a moment. "It means Marco will want to tie up loose ends."
"You helped me tonight."
"That makes you my ally in his eyes. And he doesn't leave allies alive." The room felt too small suddenly. Too hot. Marina's hands were covered in someone else's blood, again, and her daughter was 2 floors below, sleeping peacefully while their entire world crumbled. "My daughter," Marina whispered.
Lily.
"She's only 6-inch. I know. You know. I know everything about everyone who worked for me." Dante's voice was getting weaker. "Birthdays in March. Allergic to strawberries. Wants to be a veterinarian. You're raising her alone because her father left before she was born. It should have felt invasive, creepy even. But right now, it just felt practical." "Can you protect her?" Marina asked. "I can barely protect myself right now." "That's not an answer." Dante closed his eyes.
No.
"Right now, I can't protect either of you. But I can tell you what's coming and give you a head start. That's more than most people get." Marina finished bandaging his ribs as best she could. The bleeding had slowed but not stopped. He needed real medical attention, and soon. "How long before they find this address?" she asked. "If they're smart?"
By dawn.
"If they're thorough?" "They already know." As if on cue, Marina heard the sound of a car engine outside. She moved to the window and carefully pulled back the curtain. A black SUV was pulling into the parking lot, moving slowly, searching. "We need to leave," Dante said, somehow already on his feet despite the pain.
Now.
"I have to get Lily." Gunfire shattered the night. The living room window exploded inward, spraying glass across the floor. Marina dropped to the ground, her ears ringing. Dante was already moving, grabbing her arm, pulling her toward the door. "No time for the stairs," he said. "Back exit. Fire escape. Move." The fire escape rattled under their weight as Marina and Dante descended into the darkness. Below them, she could hear shouts, heavy footsteps thundering up the main stairwell. They were searching floor by floor. "Mrs. Chun," Marina gasped. "Lily's with Mrs. Chun. Second floor, apartment 2C, Dante said, already changing direction. His face was gray with pain, but he moved with surprising speed. "I remember." They reached the second-floor landing. The fire escape window was locked from the inside. Dante didn't hesitate. He slammed his elbow through the glass, reached in, and flipped the latch. They tumbled into the hallway just as apartment doors started opening. Curious neighbors in bathrobes, demanding to know what was happening. "Gas leak," Dante shouted with surprising authority. "Everyone out."
Now. It was the right lie.
People grabbed their phones and pets and rushed toward the exits, creating chaos. Perfect cover. Marina pounded on Mrs. Chen's door. "It's Marina. Open up." The elderly woman opened the door with Lily clutching her leg, eyes wide with fear. "What's all this noise?" "I heard gunshots." "We have to go." Right now, Marina scooped Lily into her arms. Her daughter was warm from sleep, confused, starting to cry. "Mommy, what's happening?" "It's okay, baby. We're going on an adventure." Mrs. Chun grabbed Marina's arm. "Child, what have you gotten into?"
"I'm sorry," Marina whispered.
"I'm so sorry." They ran. Down the back stairs, through the laundry room, out the service entrance. Dante led them to a rusted Toyota Camry parked on the street, not his sleek sedan from earlier. "Backup car," he explained, hot-wiring it with practiced efficiency. "Get in."
Marina hesitated.
Getting in that car meant committing, meant accepting that her life had irreversibly changed. Behind them, men burst out of the apartment building. One of them pointed in their direction.
She got in.
Dante drove like he was conducting surgery, precise, controlled, but fast. He took turns without signaling, ran lights when the cross streets were clear, constantly checking mirrors. Lily whimpered in Marina's arms. "It's okay, sweetie," Marina murmured, stroking her daughter's hair. "Everything's okay." But everything wasn't okay. Nothing would ever be okay again. 20 minutes later, they pulled into an abandoned auto workshop on the south side. The kind of place where businesses went to die. Graffiti covered the walls, and broken glass crunched under the tires as Dante drove through a gap in the chain-link fence. Inside the garage bay, he finally stopped the car and killed the engine. Silence. Lily had cried herself to sleep. Marina held her tighter, feeling the steady rhythm of her daughter's breathing, the only real thing in a night that felt like a nightmare. "There's a space in the back office," Dante said quietly. "It's clean. There's a couch. She can sleep." Marina carried Lily through the dark workshop, following Dante's phone flashlight. The office was surprisingly intact, dusty but secure, with a worn leather couch that smelled like old cigarettes and motor oil. She laid Lily down gently, covering her with her own jacket. When she turned around, Dante was leaning against the doorframe, watching her with an unreadable expression. "You have questions," he said. "I have about 1,000 questions." Marina's voice was low but fierce. "Starting with why you're destroying my life." "I didn't fire you. Your assistant did. On your orders." "No." Dante moved to the desk and sat down heavily, wincing. "Marco gave those orders. He has access to my email, my letterhead, my signature stamps. He's been my second-in-command for 8 years. I trusted him with everything." "Then why?" "Because 3 days ago, you cleaned a room you weren't supposed to be in." Dante pulled out his phone, swiping through screens. The cleaning schedule had been changed. You were supposed to clean the West Wing that day. But someone in housekeeping management, someone loyal to me, apparently switched it back to the original schedule. He turned the phone toward her. It showed an email chain, schedules highlighted in yellow. "You walked into the East office at 2:47 p.m. Started cleaning. At 3:15 p.m., Marco was in the adjacent room, separated by a door that wasn't fully closed, transferring funds to a Russian syndicate." "My funds. $40 million worth." Marina's head spun. I didn't hear anything.
I had my headphones in.
I was listening to music while I worked. Marco didn't know that. All he knew was that someone was in the next room during his betrayal. When he checked the security logs later, he saw it was you. Dante's jaw tightened. So, he planted my wife's jewelry in your cleaning cart the next morning. Made it look like you'd been stealing. Fired you before you could overhear anything else or ask questions. Your wife's jewelry, Marina repeated. The pieces were clicking together. The ruby necklace. I remember. Security found it in my cart, and I kept saying I'd never seen it before. You hadn't. Isabella died 4 years ago. That necklace has been in my safe since her funeral. Only 3 people have the combination. Me, Marco, and my head of security, who's been on Marco's payroll for 6 months. Marina sat down hard on a nearby chair. Her hands were shaking again. So, he framed me, fired me, destroyed my reputation. For nothing? I didn't even know anything was happening.
He couldn't take that risk.
And firing you did something else. It tested my loyalty to him. Dante's voice was bitter. If I believed you were stealing from me, if I let you be fired without question, it proved I trusted Marco's judgment completely. Proved he could manipulate me. And did you believe him? Dante met her eyes. I had no reason not to. The evidence was clear. You had the jewelry. The cameras showed no one else accessing your cart. He paused. I'm not used to questioning my inner circle. That's how Marco got so close. When did you figure it out? This morning. One of my loyalists, a man who's been with me since the beginning, sent me a message. Told me to check my offshore accounts. When I did, I found 40 million missing. Then I started pulling threads. Dante's expression hardened. Marco's been planning this coup for a year. He turned half my organization against me, promised them bigger cuts, more territory. Tonight was supposed to be my execution, but someone tipped me off an hour before. I ran. Without your wallet, Marina said, remembering. I grabbed my emergency bag, fake IDs, cash, weapons. But my regular wallet was still in my jacket in the car. The getaway driver was supposed to wait, but he was one of Marco's plants. He drove off the second I went into that gas station. Marina looked at her sleeping daughter, then back at Dante. So, what happens now? You said they'll kill me, because I helped you. How do we stop that? We don't. Not yet. Dante shifted, pain flickering across his face. Marco declared me missing in action 3 hours ago. Tomorrow, he'll declare me legally dead. It's a protocol I created. If the boss goes dark for more than 24 hours with no contact, leadership automatically transfers to the second in command. I wrote it to protect the organization. Never thought it would be used against me. Can't you just call someone? Tell them you're alive. Most of my people are either dead, bought, or too scared to help. The few I trust don't have enough power to challenge Marco directly. He pulled up another file on his phone. But I have something Marco doesn't know about. What?
Surveillance footage.
The cameras in the penthouse aren't just connected to security. They're connected to a private server that only I can access. I have video of Marco planting that jewelry in your cart. I have video of his meetings with the Russians. I have everything. Hope sparked in Marina's chest. Then we can prove it. Clear my name. Stop him. We can. If we survive long enough to use it. Dante looked at Lily's sleeping form. And if we can keep your daughter safe while we do it. Because once Marco knows I have that footage, he'll do anything to destroy it. Including going through you. Marina felt cold. What are you saying? I'm saying your name is connected to mine now. The moment you helped me, the moment those men saw your face, you became part of this war. Dante's voice was quiet but firm. I can't promise I'll keep you safe. I can't promise this will end well. But I can promise that if we do this right, if we can survive the next few days, I'll clear your name.
Publicly.
In front of every crime family in Chicago. You'll get your reputation back, your life back. And if we don't do it right, then we all die, and Marco wins everything. Marina looked at her daughter, her entire world, sleeping peacefully despite the chaos. Then she looked at the man who'd inadvertently dragged them into this nightmare. "Tell me everything," she said. "If I'm going to risk Lily's life for this, I need to know exactly what we're up against." Dante nodded and began to talk. Dawn light was just beginning to filter through the grimy workshop windows when the sound of engines broke the silence. Multiple vehicles moving slowly, methodically searching the industrial district. Dante's eyes snapped open. He'd been dozing in the desk chair, his gun resting on his lap. They're canvassing the area. Marina had been awake the whole time, watching Lily sleep, trying to memorize every detail of her daughter's face in case she wouldn't think like that. "How did they find us?" she whispered. "They didn't. Not yet. But they're checking every abandoned building within a 5-mile radius of your apartment." Dante moved to the window, careful to stay hidden behind the wall. "Marco's thorough. It's why I trained him." The engines grew closer. Marina counted at least 3 vehicles. Lily stirred on the couch, her eyes fluttering open. "Mommy?" "Right here, baby." Marina went to her, forcing a smile. "We're still on our adventure."
I'm hungry.
The simple, innocent statement broke Marina's heart. She had no food. No clothes for Lily beyond what she'd been sleeping in at Mrs. Chen's. No plan except survival. "I know, sweetie. We'll get breakfast soon, I promise." Dante was typing rapidly on his phone. "I'm trying to reach Santos, one of my guys who hasn't turned. If he's still alive, he can bring us supplies. And if he's not alive, then we improvise." A vehicle stopped directly outside the workshop. Marina heard car doors opening, voices conferring. Her pulse hammered in her throat.
"Mommy, I'm scared," Lily whispered.
"I know, but we have to be very, very quiet right now. Can you do that for me? Like we're playing hide and seek?" Lily nodded, her eyes wide. Dante motioned them toward the back corner of the office. There was a storage closet, barely large enough for 2 people. "Get in. Don't come out until I say." "What about you?" "I'll handle this." Marina wanted to argue, but footsteps were already echoing in the main garage bay. She scooped up Lily and squeezed into the closet, pulling the door almost shut, leaving just a crack to see through. Through the office window, she watched 2 men enter the workshop. They weren't the same ones from last night, but they had the same predatory efficiency. Both carried guns openly. "Place looks dead," one said, kicking at a pile of old tires. "Check everywhere. Marco wants confirmation on every building." They split up. One headed toward the office. Marina held Lily tighter, pressing her hand gently over her daughter's mouth. Not hard enough to scare her, just enough to remind her to stay silent. The office door creaked open. Through the crack in the closet door, Marina could see the man's shadow moving across the floor. He was thorough, checking behind the desk, looking under the couch where Lily had been sleeping minutes ago. "Please don't check the closet. Please don't check the closet." His footsteps moved closer. Marina stopped breathing. The man's radio crackled. "Anything." He stood right in front of the closet door. Marina could see his boots, scuffed leather, untied laces. His hand reached for the closet handle. Then, gunfire. Loud, rapid, coming from outside the building. The man spun and ran out of the office. "Status report." "What's happening?" More gunshots. Shouting. Tires squealing. Marina waited, counting seconds that felt like hours. When silence finally returned, she heard Dante's voice. "They're gone. You can come out." She emerged from the closet with Lily, her legs shaking. "What happened?" "Santos happened." Dante was at the window, watching a motorcycle speed away. "He created a distraction 3 blocks over. Made them think I was there. They all went chasing." "For how long?" 20 minutes, maybe 30. Dante grabbed his phone and the gun. "We need to move.
Now."
Santos is meeting us at the next location." They piled into the stolen Camry. Dante drove them through back streets and industrial zones, constantly checking mirrors. Lily sat in Marina's lap. No car seat, no safety, breaking every rule Marina had ever followed as a mother. But staying in one place was more dangerous than driving. They stopped at a shuttered factory on the edge of the city. A motorcycle was already parked inside, a massive Harley that looked like it had seen better decades. The rider pulled off his helmet. He was older than Marina expected, maybe 50, with gray streaking through his black hair and a scar that ran from his ear to his collar. "Boss," he said simply. "Santos," Dante clasped the man's hand. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. Things are bad." "Worse than you know." Santos pulled out a duffel bag from his motorcycle storage. "Brought supplies. Food, clothes for the kid, first aid." Marina could have kissed him. She immediately dug out a granola bar and juice box for Lily, who attacked them like she hadn't eaten in days. "What's the situation?" Dante asked. Santos's expression was grim. "Marco officially declared you dead an hour ago. Natural causes, he's claiming. Heart attack. Already has a body scheduled for cremation this afternoon. Some homeless guy who matches your build. He's moving fast. He's scared. Word got out that someone saw you alive last night. That cleaning lady you were with at the gas station." Santos glanced at Marina. "He's put a price on both your heads. 50,000 each. Every crew in the city is looking for you." Marina felt the blood drain from her face.
$50,000?
"For me. You're the proof he's lying about Dante being dead. You saw him alive. That makes you dangerous." Santos pulled out his phone, showing them a photo. Marina's face, grainy but recognizable, with text underneath. "Wanted. Information leading to location." "They don't have her name yet," Dante said, studying the photo. "That's good. Means they haven't accessed all the files. They will. It's only a matter of time." Lily tugged on Marina's sleeve. "Mommy, why is your picture on that phone?" It's nothing, baby. Just a silly mistake." But Lily wasn't stupid. She looked at Dante, then at Santos with his gun visible in his waistband, then back at her mother. "Are the bad men looking for us?" Marina couldn't lie to her. "Not about this." "Yes."
Why?
Because Marina struggled for words a 6-year-old could understand. "Because we helped someone we weren't supposed to help." Lily considered this. Then she looked at Dante. "Are you a bad man?" Dante crouched down to her level, wincing from his injuries. "Yeah, kid. I am. I've done a lot of bad things. But right now, I'm trying to do something good. I'm trying to keep you and your mom safe. Will you?" The question hung in the air. Dante looked at Marina, then back at Lily. "I'm going to try my hardest." It wasn't a promise. But somehow, it felt more honest than any promise could have been. Santos cleared his throat. "We need to talk strategy. I've got 3 other guys still loyal, but they're being watched. Marco's put surveillance on all known associates." "What about the evidence?" Dante asked. "The server with the footage?" "Still secure. Marco doesn't know about it, and I've been monitoring the access logs. Nobody's tried to get to it." "Good. That's our leverage." Dante straightened, his tactical mind clearly working through scenarios. "But we can't just show up and present evidence. Marco controls too much. We need to level the playing field first."
How?
"We go to his source of power. The money he stole. The Russians he's working with." Dante's eyes hardened. "If we can disrupt that alliance, we create chaos. In chaos, we can move." Marina listened to them plan, holding Lily close. 24 hours ago, her biggest problem was figuring out how to pay rent. Now she was in an abandoned factory with Mafia members, planning some kind of counter-coup, with her daughter's life hanging in the balance. "What about me?" she asked. "What do you need me to do?" Both men looked at her in surprise. "Marina, you don't have to," Dante started. "Yes, I do. My name is attached to this now. My face is on wanted posters. My daughter is in danger." Marina's voice was steady despite her fear. "So, tell me what I need to do to end this. To get my life back." Dante studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Santos, teach her how to use a gun." "What?" "If we're going into this together, you need to be able to protect yourself." "Protect Lily." Dante's expression was serious. "I won't lie to you. It's going to get worse before it gets better." Much worse. Are you ready for that? Marina looked at her daughter, happily eating a granola bar, unaware of how much danger they were really in. No, Marina said honestly. But I don't have a choice anymore, do I? None of us do. Santos pulled a small pistol from his bag. All right, cleaning lady. Let's see what you're made of. Santos led Marina to the far corner of the factory, while Dante kept watch and Lily colored with crayon Santos had thoughtfully packed. The gun felt impossibly heavy in Marina's hands, a compact Glock 19 that Santos said was beginner-friendly. First rule, Santos said, his voice patient but firm. Never point it at anything you don't intend to destroy. Second rule, finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Third rule, there's no such thing as an unloaded gun. You treat every weapon like it's loaded and ready to fire. Marina nodded, trying to focus despite the surreal nature of the situation. 3 days ago, she was scrubbing toilets. Now she was learning to kill people. I can't do this, she whispered. I can't. I'm not a killer. You're a mother, Santos corrected. And mothers do whatever it takes. Trust me, if someone comes for your kid, you'll figure out how to pull that trigger real fast. He was right. Marina thought about the men who'd shot up her apartment, who'd put a price on her head, who knew she had a daughter. The fear transformed into something harder. Something sharp. Show me, she said. They spent 30 minutes on basics, stance, grip, sight alignment. Santos didn't make her fire it. The noise would attract attention. But he made her practice the motions until they felt less foreign. You're a natural, he said, which Marina suspected was a lie, but she appreciated it anyway. When they returned, Dante was on his phone, his expression dark. We have a problem. Another one? Marina asked. Marco's moving faster than I expected. He's called a meeting of the 5 families for tomorrow night. He's going to consolidate power, redistribute territories, make everything official. Santos swore under his breath. Tomorrow? That's too soon. We need more time to gather allies too. We don't have time. Dante pulled up something on his phone. But I may have found an angle. The money Marco stole. He hasn't delivered it to the Russians yet. It's sitting in a warehouse on the docks, waiting for transfer tomorrow morning. How do you know that? Because I still have access to some security feeds. Not all of them. Marco's locked me out of most systems. But he doesn't know about my personal backdoors. Dante showed them a grainy surveillance feed of a warehouse. Armed guards patrolled outside. That's $40 million of my money. Marco's insurance policy with the Russians.
Marina saw where this was going.
You want to steal it back. I want to eliminate his leverage. Without that money, the Russians won't support his claim to leadership. They'll see him as a liability, not an asset. Dante's jaw tightened. And once his external support crumbles, the families will question his legitimacy. That's a suicide mission, Santos said flatly. That warehouse has at least a dozen guards. And that's just the ones we can see. I know. We're 3 people, one of them injured, one of them a civilian, and one of them wanted by every crew in the city. I know. And we have a 6-year-old to protect. I know. Dante's voice rose. Then he caught himself. He glanced at Lily, who'd looked up from her coloring, startled. More quietly, he continued. I know the odds. But if we don't do something, Marco wins. He gets my organization, my money, my life's work. And you too, he gestured to Marina and Lily. You spend the rest of your lives running. If you're lucky. Marina felt the weight of that truth. She couldn't go home. Couldn't go to the police. Marco owned too many of them. Couldn't even access her bank account without being tracked. She had her daughter, the clothes on her back, and an alliance with a crime boss who is currently losing a civil war. There's another option, Santos said carefully. I could get them out of the city. I have contacts in Milwaukee, people who owe me favors. Marina and the kid could disappear, start over with new names. For a moment, Marina actually considered it. A new life. Safety. Away from guns and blood and men who killed people over money she couldn't even comprehend. But then she remembered the jewelry planted in her cart. Remembered the security guard's disgusted look as they escorted her out. Remembered her supervisor telling her she'd never work in Chicago again after stealing from Dante Caldero. Her reputation was destroyed. Her name was attached to a crime she didn't commit. And unless Dante succeeded in exposing Marco, she'd carry that stain forever. No, Marina said. I'm not running. Both men stared at her. You're sure? Dante asked. I'm not sure about anything, but I know that if I run now, I'm guilty. In everyone's eyes, I'll always be the maid who stole from her boss. My daughter will grow up with a mother who's a thief. Marina's hands clenched into fists. You said you have footage that proves my innocence. That footage is worthless if you're dead and Marco controls everything. So no, I'm not running. We're seeing this through. Lily walked over, clutching her crayon drawing, a picture of 3 people standing together. I drew us, she said proudly. That's you, Mommy. That's me. And that's Mr. Dante. Marina's throat tightened. In Lily's simple drawing, they looked like a family, like people who belong together. It's beautiful, baby, Marina managed. Dante studied the drawing, something unreadable crossing his face. She put me in a blue shirt. I hate blue. I like blue, Lily said matter-of-factly. Despite everything, Santos laughed. Kids got opinions. I respect that. Dante's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression changed. We need to move.
Now.
Security feed shows 3 SUVs heading this direction. How did they? Doesn't matter. Grab everything. We have maybe 5 minutes. They moved in controlled chaos. Santos packed the supplies while Marina scooped up Lily. Dante erased their digital footprints, wiping down surfaces they'd touched. Where do we go? Marina asked. I have one more safe location. An apartment I keep under a fake name. Marco doesn't know about it. I bought it through shell companies even my own people can't trace. You sure about that?
No.
But it's all we've got. They piled into the Camry. Santos would take his motorcycle separately, watching for tails. As Dante started the engine, Marina caught sight of the approaching SUVs in the side mirror. They're coming fast, she said. I see them. Dante threw the car into reverse, spinning them around. Hold on. He drove through the factory's back exit, literally through it, smashing through a rotted wooden door. The Camry scraped metal on both sides but made it through. Behind them, the SUVs followed. They're not even trying to be subtle anymore, Santos said through the phone Dante had on speaker. Marco's desperate. He knows if I survive until that meeting tomorrow, I can challenge his claim. Dante took a hard left, then another right. He needs me dead before sunrise. Marina held Lily against her chest, shielding her daughter's face as Dante drove through increasingly narrow streets. The SUVs were bigger, slower in tight spaces. They were gaining distance. Mommy, why are we going so fast? Because we're racing, baby. Just racing. Are we winning? Marina looked back at the pursuing vehicles. I hope so. Dante pulled into an underground parking garage, killed the lights, and navigated by memory through the darkness. They emerged 3 blocks away through a different exit. The SUVs were gone.
Santos.
Dante asked.
Clear.
They lost you. I'll meet you at the apartment in 20-inch. Dante nodded and kept driving, taking random turns, doubling back, ensuring they weren't followed. Marina's heart slowly returned to normal speed. Lily had fallen asleep against her shoulder, exhausted by the adrenaline and early morning. That picture she drew, Dante said quietly, of the 3 of us. What about it? In her version, we look safe. Happy, he glanced at them in the rear-view mirror. I'm going to make that real. Whatever it takes, I'm going to get you both back to safe and happy. Don't make promises you can't keep. I'm not. His eyes met hers in the mirror. I'm making a vow, and I never break those. Marina wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that this man, this criminal who'd inadvertently destroyed her life, could somehow fix it all. But as they pulled up to a nondescript apartment building in a middle-class neighborhood, as they climbed the stairs to a furnished apartment that smelled of disuse. As she laid Lily on a clean bed for the first time in what felt like days, Marina realized something. She'd already committed. Already crossed lines she never thought she would. Now the only direction was forward. Into whatever came next. The apartment was modest. 2 bedrooms, clean but sterile, like a hotel room that had forgotten how to be lived in. Marina tucked Lily into the larger bedroom while Dante and Santos set up a command center at the kitchen table. Laptops, phones, guns arranged like pieces on a chessboard. "Get some sleep," Dante told Marina when she emerged. "We move tonight, but you'll need rest." "I can't sleep." She poured herself coffee from the pot Santos had made. Her hands were steadier now. She was adapting. That terrified her. "Tell me the plan." Dante exchanged a glance with Santos, then nodded. "Santos will watch Lily. You're coming with me." "Where?" "My office building. Downtown. The Caldero Tower." Marina nearly dropped her coffee. "Are you insane? That's the first place Marco will have covered. Which is why he won't expect me to show up. He thinks I'm hiding in abandoned buildings on the outskirts, playing defense." Dante pulled up a building schematic on his laptop. "But I need access to my private server room. The surveillance footage of Marco planting the jewelry, it's stored there. I can access it remotely, but I need to download the complete files, uncompressed with metadata intact. Otherwise, the families won't accept it as evidence." "Why not?" "Because Marco will claim it's deep-faked, edited, manipulated. The only way to prove authenticity is to pull the original files directly from the source server." Dante traced a path through the schematic. "The server room is in the sub-basement, 3 floors below the parking garage. Security is biometric, retinal scan, and fingerprint. Marco can't access it even if he wanted to. So you go in, download the files, and leave." In theory, Santos lit a cigarette, ignoring the no-smoking signs. In practice, the building will be crawling with Marco's people. Every entrance monitored. Every elevator keyed to specific access cards. "How do we get in?" Dante smiled grimly. "Through the front door. During business hours." Marina stared at him. "You're not just insane. You're suicidal. It's the last thing they'll expect." Marco locked down the building after hours, extra guards, limited access. But during the day, it's still a functioning office tower. Hundreds of employees, delivery people, clients. Too much legitimate traffic to lock everything down without raising questions from the legitimate businesses that lease space there. "But someone will recognize you." "Not if I don't look like me," Dante gestured to Santos, who produced a bag from his motorcycle gear. Inside were glasses, a wig, prosthetics. "We go in as maintenance workers. You're with me as my assistant. We'll blend in. I'm a cleaning lady. I don't know anything about maintenance. You know the building layout better than most of my own security team. You've cleaned every floor for 3 years. You know which cameras have blind spots, which guards take smoke breaks which doors have faulty locks." Dante met her eyes. "That's why you're coming. You're an expert who doesn't realize she's an expert." Marina had never thought of it that way. She'd always been invisible. The woman who showed up after everyone left, who cleaned up messes and disappeared before morning. But she did know things. She knew that the camera on the 7th floor stairwell had been broken for 6 months. She knew the loading dock supervisor left his post every day at 2:15 for exactly 12 minutes. She knew the sub-basement access was behind a utility door that most people assumed was a closet. "What time?" she asked. 2 p.m. Maximum chaos. Lunch rush ending, afternoon meetings starting. Everyone distracted. Santos checked his watch. "That's 8 hours from now. You both should rest." But Marina couldn't imagine sleeping. Her mind was racing with 1,000 scenarios, most of them ending badly. What happens if Marco's people are in the server room? Then we improvise. Dante stood, wincing as his injured ribs protested. But I don't think they will be. Marco's focused on the big picture, the meeting tomorrow night, consolidating power. He's not worried about surveillance footage because he doesn't know I can still access it. "You hope." "I hope," Dante admitted. but hope backed by 3 years of planning contingencies for exactly this kind of scenario. Marina went to check on Lily. Her daughter was sprawled across the bed, clutching a stuffed rabbit Santos had somehow procured. Peaceful, innocent, unaware that her mother was about to walk into a building full of people who wanted them dead. She kissed Lily's forehead and whispered, "I'm going to fix this, baby. I promise." Back in the living room, Santos had fallen asleep on the couch, his gun still in his hand. Dante stood at the window, staring out at the city. "You should rest too," Marina said quietly.
Can't.
"Every time I close my eyes, I see Isabella." He didn't turn around. "My wife. She died because of this life. Because someone wanted leverage over me, so they tampered with her car. She was pregnant. 7 months." Marina's breath caught. "Dante, I rebuilt everything after that. Made the organization tighter, more controlled. Made sure nobody could ever hurt me like that again." His reflection in the window looked haunted. "But I made myself predictable. Marco studied my patterns for years, learned exactly how I'd respond to everything. Used my own paranoia against me. That's not your fault, isn't it? I trusted him, trained him, gave him access to everything because he was like a brother." Dante's hands clenched into fists. "And now he's using my wife's jewelry to frame innocent people. Using my own security protocols to steal from me. Standing on Isabella's grave to build his empire." Marina understood then. This wasn't just about power or money. This was personal. This was about Marco desecrating the one sacred thing Dante had left.
"We'll stop him," she said.
"You sound certain." "I'm not. But I'm committed." Marina moved to stand beside him at the window. "You said clearing my name requires you staying alive. Well, taking down Marco requires me staying useful. So we're stuck with each other." Dante smiled, a real one, not the grim expressions he'd been wearing. "Stuck with each other. There are worse fates." "Name one." "Being married to Marco. He snores." Despite everything, Marina laughed. The sound felt foreign after the past day, but good. Human. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the city wake up. Somewhere out there, Marco was planning his victory. Somewhere out there, people were searching for them with guns and bad intentions. But here, in this stolen moment of quiet, they were safe. "Tell me about Lily," Dante said. "Who is she when she's not scared?"
Marina smiled.
"Fearless. Curious. Last month she brought home a frog from the park, kept it in a shoebox under her bed for 3 days before I found it. She named it Princess Sparkles. A frog named Princess Sparkles. She's 6. Everything is either a princess or sparkly. Sometimes both." Marina's smile faded. "She deserves better than this. Better than running and hiding. She deserves a mother who fights for her. That's exactly what you're doing. By breaking into buildings with Mafia bosses. By refusing to let anyone make you a victim." Dante turned to face her. "Marco tried to erase you. Fire you, frame you, make you disappear. But you're still here. Still fighting. That makes you dangerous to him. I'm a single mother with a high school diploma and $63 in my checking account. I'm not dangerous to anyone." "You're wrong." Dante's expression was serious. "The most dangerous person in any organization isn't the one with the biggest gun or the most money. It's the one with nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. That's you, Marina. And that's why we're going to win." Marina wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that her desperation could somehow translate to strength. "Get some rest," Dante said again. "I'll wake you at noon. We'll go over the plan one more time." This time, Marina listened. She curled up in the second bedroom, still dressed, the weight of Santos's gun pressed against her back, where she'd tucked it into her waistband.
She didn't think she'd sleep.
But exhaustion pulled her under within minutes. When Dante woke her at noon, she felt surprisingly clear-headed, focused. Santos had ordered Chinese food, fried rice and dumplings that Lily attacked with enthusiasm. They ate quickly, efficiently, like soldiers before a deployment. At 1:15 p.m., Dante and Marina began their transformation. The wig made him look 20 years older. The prosthetics changed the shape of his nose and jaw. The glasses and maintenance uniform completed the disguise. Marina wore similar attire, blue work shirt, black pants, clipboard in hand. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. "Ready?" Dante asked.
No.
"Yes." Santos handed them both earpieces. "I'll be monitoring from here. Anything goes wrong, I extract Lily first. Understand?"
Marina understood.
If they failed, if they died, at least Lily would be safe. It was the only thing that mattered. They left the apartment at 1:45 p.m. The Caldero Tower loomed in the distance, glass and steel scraping the sky. Somewhere inside was the evidence that could save them. Somewhere inside was an army of people who wanted them dead. "One question," Marina said as they approached. "What?" "When this is over, if we survive, are you going to fire me again?"
Dante laughed.
Actually laughed. "Marina, after this, I'm putting you on the board of directors." They walked through the front door at exactly 2 p.m., and the real mission began. The lobby of Caldero Tower was exactly as Marina remembered: polished marble floors, modern art installations, the faint scent of expensive cologne and ambition. Business people rushed past, nobody giving the two maintenance workers a second glance. Marina's heart hammered against her ribs. She kept her eyes down, her clipboard held like a shield. "Elevator bank C," Dante murmured. "Service elevator. Loading dock access." They crossed the lobby. Marina spotted two security guards she recognized, Thompson and Rodriguez, both men she'd exchanged polite nods with during her years here. Both were now on Marco's payroll, according to Dante. Thompson's eyes swept past them without recognition. They made it to the elevator. Dante swiped a stolen maintenance card. Santos had obtained it from a contact that morning. The doors opened. 3 other people tried to enter behind them. "Sorry, folks," Dante said in a gravelly voice completely unlike his own. "Hazmat situation on 12. This one's restricted for the next hour." The people grumbled but stepped back.
The doors closed. Marina exhaled.
"That was the easy part," Dante finished. He pressed the button for the sub-basement. "Now it gets complicated." The elevator descended past the parking levels, past the maintenance floor, into the depths of the building Marina had never accessed. When the doors opened, they faced a concrete corridor lit by harsh fluorescent lights. "Security station is 40 feet ahead," Dante whispered. "1 guard, usually. We need him distracted or gone." "How?" "I'm working on it." They moved forward carefully. Around the corner, Marina heard a chair scraping, someone humming off-key to music playing through headphones. Dante held up a hand, "Wait." Then his phone buzzed. He glanced at it and smiled. 30 seconds later, an alarm began blaring throughout the building. Not the fire alarm, something else. A security alert. The guard's chair scraped again. What the hell? Footsteps moving away, toward the elevator bank, checking his radio. Dante grabbed Marina's hand and pulled her forward. They slipped past the now empty security station and through a door marked, "Authorized personnel only." What was that alarm?
Marina whispered.
Santos triggered a false security breach on the 20th floor. "Every available guard will be responding. We have maybe 10 minutes before they realize it's fake." The server room was behind a steel door with a biometric scanner. Dante pressed his thumb to the pad, then leaned forward for the retinal scan. Red light. Access denied.
"No," Dante breathed. "No, no, no."
What's wrong? Marco must have anticipated this. He locked out my biometrics. Dante tried again. Same result. I can't get in. Marina's mind raced. 3 years of watching, cleaning, being invisible. The maintenance override. There has to be one for emergencies when the system fails. There is, but only the head of security knows. Dante stopped. You cleaned his office. Every Thursday for 3 years. Did you ever see access codes? Emergency protocols? Marina closed her eyes, thinking. Henderson's office. Always messy, papers everywhere. She'd organize them sometimes when he wasn't looking, just to make cleaning easier. And there was a folder he kept in his desk drawer, the one that was always slightly open. He had a notebook. Brown leather. He kept it in his lower left drawer. What was in it? I don't know. I never read it. That wasn't my business. Marina opened her eyes. But he opened it every time there was a system error. Wrote down access codes for maintenance overrides. Where's his office? 2 floors up.
They ran.
The alarm was still blaring, buying them cover. They took the stairs, less monitored than elevators. 2 floors up, into another corridor, this one with actual carpet. Henderson's office was locked, but Dante made quick work of it with a tool from his pocket. Inside, everything was the same except for photos. Marco had already replaced Henderson's family pictures with his own decorations. Marina went straight to the desk. Lower left drawer.
Locked.
Move, Dante said. He jammed his tool into the lock and twisted. The drawer popped open. Inside was the brown leather notebook. Marina grabbed it and flipped through pages of codes, dates, locations. Here, server room maintenance override. #77 Delta Omega. She read out the 16-character code. They ran back down. The alarm had stopped. They had maybe 2 minutes before guards returned to their posts. At the server room, Dante punched in the override code on a secondary keypad Marina hadn't even noticed. Green light. The door clicked open. They were in. The server room was cold, humming with electronics and blinking lights. Dante moved to a specific terminal and began typing rapidly. How long? Marina asked, watching the door. 3 minutes to access the files. 2 more to download them to an encrypted drive. 5 minutes total. If nothing goes wrong. Footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. Multiple people. Moving fast. We've got company, Marina whispered. Dante didn't stop typing. Stall them. How? You were a cleaning lady here for 3 years. You have more authority in this building than you think. Use it. Marina moved to the door, her mind spinning. She grabbed a maintenance tablet from a shelf, the kind she'd seen techs carry, and stepped into the corridor just as 3 guards rounded the corner. One of them was Thompson. This area is restricted, he said, hand moving to his weapon. Marina channeled every ounce of confidence she didn't feel. I know. I'm doing an emergency HVAC diagnostic. Someone triggered the system alert. Nobody informed security about any HVAC work. Because it's an emergency. The cooling system for the server room is failing. If I don't reset it in the next 5 minutes, you're looking at a complete data loss. Millions of dollars in damage. She held up the tablet like it proved something. You want to explain to Mr. Santini why his servers melted because you delayed emergency maintenance. Thompson hesitated. Marco's name carried weight. I need to verify with. Call him. Please. While you're getting authorization, I'll be watching critical systems overheat. Marina turned back toward the server room. But sure, protocol is more important than the entire company's digital infrastructure. She was gambling everything on the universal truth that nobody wanted to be responsible for a massive screw-up. Thompson spoke into his radio. Waited. The response was garbled, probably still dealing with the fake security breach upstairs. Make it quick, he finally said. I'm posting someone outside until you're done. Fine. Marina walked back into the server room, her knees shaking so badly, she almost fell. Dante looked up. That was impressive. That was terrifying. She leaned against the wall. How long? 90 seconds. The longest 90 seconds of Marina's life. She watched the progress bar creep forward. 70%, 80%, 90%. Voices outside. More guards arriving. We need to move, Marina hissed. Almost. There, the download completed. Dante ejected the encrypted drive and pocketed it. Got it. He quickly typed more commands, his fingers flying. Now I'm accessing the financial records, Marco's offshore transfers, the Russian accounts, everything. We don't have time. 30 seconds. This is the proof we need that he stole from the organization. 20 seconds. 15. The door handle rattled. Everything okay in there? Just finishing up. Marina called out. 10 seconds.
5.
Dante ejected a second drive.
Done.
Let's go. They opened the door. Thompson stood there with 2 more guards, all of them looking suspicious now. Let me see that tablet, Thompson demanded. Marina handed it over. He looked at the screen, just a standard diagnostic interface she'd randomly pulled up. This doesn't show. Behind them, an elevator dinged. Someone stepped out. Everyone turned. Marco Santini stood in the corridor, flanked by 4 armed men. He wore an expensive suit, perfectly tailored, his expression calm, but his eyes deadly. Well, he said softly, this is unexpected. Dante stepped in front of Marina.
Marco.
I should have known you'd come here. Always so predictable, Dante. Marco smiled. Though I'll admit, the disguise almost worked. But the biometric lockout I programmed? It sent me an alert the moment you tried to access the server room. So you've been watching? Every second. I let you download the files because they don't matter anymore. Marco pulled out his own phone, showing a screen of code. I've already altered the timestamps, corrupted the metadata. Your evidence will look exactly like the deep fake I'm going to claim it is. Marina's stomach dropped. They'd walked into a trap. And you, Marco said, his eyes sliding to Marina. The cleaning lady. I underestimated you. That won't happen again. He nodded to his men. Guns came up. Dante grabbed Marina and dove sideways as gunfire erupted in the narrow corridor. Chaos erupted in the sub-basement. Dante fired back, pulling Marina behind a concrete support pillar as bullets chipped away at the walls. Thompson and the other guards scrambled for cover, caught between 2 sides of a war they hadn't anticipated. Service stairs. Dante shouted. 20 feet behind us. They ran bent low. Marina's ears rang from the gunfire. Behind them, Marco's voice rang out. Alive. I want them alive. That was almost worse than shoot to kill. It meant interrogation.
Torture.
Making examples. They crashed through the stairwell door. Dante fired once back through the opening, buying them seconds. They took the stairs 3 at a time, Marina's lungs burning. Santos, Dante spoke into his earpiece as they climbed. We're blown. Extraction plan Charlie. Santos's response crackled. Copy. The girl is secure. Meeting point in 15-inch. They emerged on the parking level. Dante led them to a service exit Marina had used hundreds of times when emptying cleaning carts. The door opened to an alley, and Santos waiting on his Harley, engine running. Go.
Santos torce Dante Elme.
What about? Your car's burned. Get on. They climbed on behind Santos just as Marco's men burst from the building. The motorcycle roared to life, accelerating so fast Marina nearly fell off. She wrapped her arms around Dante, who wrapped his around Santos. Gunfire chased them down the alley. Santos took a hard turn, then another, weaving through traffic with practiced precision. Within minutes, they'd lost their pursuers in the maze of downtown streets. 20 minutes later, they pulled up to a modest house in a residential neighborhood. Santos killed the engine. Where are we? Marina asked. My sister's place. She's in Florida for the month. Left me the keys to watch her plants. Santos dismounted. Not glamorous, but Marco doesn't know about her. We're safe. Inside, Lily was watching cartoons, completely absorbed. When she saw Marina, she jumped up. Mommy, Santos got me chicken nuggets. Marina hugged her daughter, so tight Lily squeaked. That's wonderful, baby. Did you win the race? Marina looked at Dante, then back at Lily. Still racing, sweetie. But we're doing okay. Santos had set up another command center, this one on the dining room table. Dante immediately went to work, connecting the encrypted drives to a laptop. Tell me Marco was bluffing, Santos said. Tell me the evidence is good. Dante's face fell as he reviewed the files. He wasn't. Look, the timestamps on the surveillance footage have been altered. According to the metadata, This video was created yesterday, not 3 days ago, when it actually happened. Can you prove it's been tampered with? Maybe. With time and an expert forensic analyst. But not before tomorrow night's meeting. Dante slumped in his chair. Marco's smart. He knew I'd come for this evidence. He prepared. Marina looked over his shoulder at the screen. The video clearly showed Marco planting jewelry in her cleaning cart, but the corrupted timestamp made it look fabricated. What about the financial records? She asked. Dante pulled up the second drive. These are better. Wire transfers, account numbers, communications with the Russian contacts. This proves he stole from the organization. But it doesn't prove I'm innocent, Marina said quietly.
No.
It doesn't. The weight of that reality settled over the room. Dante could potentially save his organization, expose Marco's theft, reclaim his position. But Marina's name would never be cleared. She'd still be the thief who got fired, still be unemployable, still carry that stain. Unless they found another way. The original server, Marina said suddenly. The physical server in that room. Can Marco alter what's actually stored on the hardware? Not remotely. He'd need physical access. Which he didn't have. We were there first, Marina's mind raced. So the original files, the ones on the actual machine, they're still intact. Still have the correct timestamps. Dante sat up straighter. You're right. But they're also locked behind Marco's security now. He'll have that room guarded 24/7. There's no way back in. Then we need someone who already has access. Someone Marco trusts. Marina looked at Santos. You said 3 other guys are still loyal to Dante. What do they do? One's a driver. One's a mid-level enforcer. And 1 inch, Santos paused. One is an IT contractor. Does server maintenance, system updates. Does he have access to that room? He should. He's authorized for all server maintenance. Dante was already pulling up a contact on his phone. Vincent Choi. I trust him with my life. If anyone can extract the original files without Marco knowing. He dialed. The phone rang 4 times before someone answered. It's me, Dante said simply. Marina couldn't hear the response, but she saw Dante's expression shift, relief mixed with caution. I need a favor. A big one. I know the risk. No, I can't come to you. Marco has eyes everywhere. The sub-basement server room. I need the original surveillance files from 3 days ago, uncorrupted. You can. How long? That's cutting it close. Vincent, if this works, when this is over, I'm making you head of all digital operations. Be careful. He hung up. Vincent can do it. He has maintenance scheduled for tomorrow afternoon. Routine work Marco approved last week. He can extract the files to a separate drive and get them to us. Tomorrow afternoon? Santos checked his watch. The 5 families meeting is tomorrow night at 8. That's a narrow window. It's all we've got. Marina pulled up a chair. So we wait. Again. While Marco consolidates power and puts more money on our heads. While we plan, Dante corrected. Marco thinks he's won. He thinks the evidence is corrupted and we're running scared. That gives us an advantage. What advantage? We're trapped in a stranger's house with a 6-year-old. We're alive. We're thinking. And Marco's getting cocky. Dante pulled up a news feed on the laptop. Look, he's giving an interview to the Tribune tomorrow morning. Talking about the tragic death of his mentor and his plans to honor Dante's legacy by expanding the business.
Santos Lauguet Bitterli.
He can't help himself. Always needed to be in the spotlight. Which means he'll be distracted. Focused on his public image instead of hunting us, Dante leaned back. We use that time to prepare. Once Vincent gets us the clean evidence, we have maybe 4 hours to get it to the 5 families before the meeting.
How?
Marina asked. Won't Marco control access to the meeting? The meeting is at Vittorio's, a neutral restaurant that's been hosting family business for 50 years. Neutral ground means Marco can't block me from entering. But he'll have people watching every entrance, waiting for me to show. So it's a trap either way. Don't go, and he wins by default. Go, and he kills you before you can present evidence. Unless, Santos said slowly, we don't send Dante. Both Dante and Marina looked at him. Marco's expecting you, Santos continued, pointing at Dante. He's got your face memorized, your walk, your voice. But what if someone else presents the evidence? Someone he'd never suspect. Understanding dawned on Marina's face at the same moment Dante said, absolutely not. Why not? Marina asked.
I'm nobody.
A cleaning lady. Marco thinks I'm just leverage to get to you, not a threat myself. Exactly. Which means if he realizes what you're doing, he'll kill you without hesitation. He's going to kill me anyway. There's a bounty on my head. I can't hide forever, Marina stood, adrenaline pumping. But if I can walk into that meeting and show those family bosses the truth, show them that Marco planted evidence, framed an innocent person, stole from the organization, then maybe they'll listen. Not because I'm threatening anyone, but because I'm proof of what Marco's willing to do to stay in power. Dante shook his head. It's too dangerous. Everything is too dangerous. Getting coffee was dangerous when I woke up yesterday morning. Marina's voice rose. At least this danger means something. At least this way, maybe I get my life back. Lily appeared in the doorway, rubbing her eyes. Why is Mommy yelling? Marina immediately softened. I'm sorry, baby. Just grown-up conversation. Are you fighting with Mr. Dante?
No, es Wetie.
We're just trying to figure something out. Lily walked over to Dante, studying him seriously. Are you going to keep my mommy safe? Dante looked at the 6-year-old, then at Marina. Something shifted in his expression. Yes, I am. Good. Because she's the best mommy ever and I need her. I know you do. Lily nodded, satisfied, and went back to the TV. Santos broke the silence. The kid's right. And so is Marina. If Dante walks into that meeting, it's a war. But if Marina walks in a civilian, a victim, it changes the narrative. She'll be killed the moment Marco realizes. Not if we do it right, Santos was already sketching out ideas. We get her inside before Marco knows she's there. She presents the evidence to Vittorio himself. He's the eldest, the most respected. Once it's in play, Marco can't make her disappear without exposing himself. Dante studied Marina for a long moment. You understand what you'd be walking into? These aren't businessmen. They're killers. The nicest person in that room has probably ordered a dozen murders. I cleaned their offices for 3 years. I know exactly who they are. Marina met his eyes. And they need to know who I am. Not a thief. Not a criminal. A mother who got caught in a war she didn't start and refuses to let it end her. Dante finally nodded. Then we do this right. We plan every second, every contingency. And if anything feels wrong, you get out. Agreed. Agreed. Santos raised his coffee cup. To the cleaning lady who became a soldier. Marina didn't feel like a soldier. She felt terrified, exhausted, completely out of her depth. But she also felt something else. Determined. Tomorrow night, one way or another, this would end. The abandoned shipping yard reeked of rust and old fish. Marina stood behind a shipping container, watching Dante meet with shadows that slowly resolved into men, 5 of them, emerging from the fog that rolled off Lake Michigan. It was 6 a.m. The meeting with the 5 families was 14 hours away. Stay close, Santos murmured beside her. He'd insisted on being her shadow after Lily had been moved to a secure location with Vincent's wife, a kind woman who'd ask no questions and promised to guard her with her life. Marina's stomach churned thinking about Lily, but this was the only way. Her daughter couldn't be anywhere near what was about to happen. Dante stood in the center of the circle of men. Even in the dim pre-dawn light, Marina could see the tension in his shoulders. These were his people, the ones who'd stayed loyal, but loyalty in this world was measured in blood, and everyone knew it. Gentlemen, Dante said, his voice carrying across the empty space. Thank you for coming. We came because we owe you, said one man, older, with silver hair and scars that told stories. But that debt only goes so far, Dante. Marco's got the numbers now. Numbers aren't loyalty, Gino. No. But their survival, another man stepped forward, younger, mid-30s. Half our crews have switched sides. The other half are waiting to see who wins. You asking us to go to war is asking us to die. I'm not asking you to go to war. I'm asking you to witness the truth. Dante pulled out a tablet, showing them something Marina couldn't see from her position. Marco's been stealing from all of us.
Not just me.
Every family, every operation. He's been skimming percentages and funneling them to offshore accounts. The men leaned in, looking at the screen. Marina heard their murmurs, angry, surprised. This is for real? Gino asked. Vincent pulled it from the server yesterday. Original files, unaltered timestamps, complete transaction histories. Dante swiped through screens. Marco's stolen $48 million over the past 18 months. Most of it from our joint operations with the other families. Cristo, someone muttered. If the families see this, they will.
Tonight.
At Vittorio's, Dante looked at each man in turn. But Marco's going to be ready for me. He'll have the entrances covered, snipers probably, definitely his people positioned throughout the restaurant. If I try to walk in, I'll be dead before I reach the door. So, what's your play? The cleaning lady walks in for me. All 5 men turned to look at Marina. She forced herself to step out from behind the container, to meet their stares without flinching. Her. The younger man sounded incredulous. She's a civilian.
Exactly.
Marco knows she's with me, but he thinks she's baggage. A witness to keep quiet, not a player. Dante gestured to Marina. She'll walk in during the meeting, present the evidence directly to Vittorio. By the time Marco realizes what's happening, it'll be too late. The families will have seen everything. Gino studied Marina carefully. You understand what happens if you fail? If Marco gets to you first? I understand. Marina's voice was steadier than she felt. But I also understand that doing nothing means my daughter grows up with a mother who's a fugitive. That's not acceptable.
She's got spine, Gino said to Dante.
I'll give her that.
She's got more than spine. She's got righteous anger.
And that's the most dangerous weapon there is. Dante turned back to his men. Here's what I need from you. Cover positions around Vittorio's, not to fight, just to observe. If Marco moves on Marina before she reaches Vittorio, I need to know. If he tries to interfere with the meeting, I need witnesses. And if he tries to kill you, then you make sure the evidence gets out anyway. Send it to every family, every contact, every legitimate authority that might care. Dante's expression hardened. Marco doesn't get to win this. Not after what he's done. The men exchanged glances. Some unspoken communication passed between them. Finally, Gino nodded. We're in. But Dante, you better have a plan for after. Because once this goes down, there's no going back. Either you reclaim everything or we all burn. I know. They spent the next hour going over details. Positions, timing, emergency protocols. Marina listened, memorizing everything, trying not to think about the 100 ways this could go catastrophically wrong. As the meeting broke up, Gino approached her. My daughter's about your girl's age. 7 next month. Lily just turned 6. What you're doing, walking into that meeting, that's love. Stupid, reckless love. But love, he pressed something into her hand. A small religious medal. My grandmother gave me this. Said it kept me safe through 3 wars. Maybe it'll do the same for you. Marina closed her fingers around it. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Thank me when you're still breathing tomorrow. He walked away, leaving Marina holding a stranger's luck. Santos drove them to a hotel, nothing fancy, just a place to shower and change and try to eat something that wouldn't immediately come back up. Dante had rented 3 rooms under fake names, paying cash. Marina stood under the shower for 20 minutes, letting hot water wash away the grime and fear and exhaustion. When she finally emerged, she found clothes laid out on the bed, a simple black dress, modest heels. Something that would let her blend in at an upscale restaurant. Something that would let her look like staff. There was a knock. Santos's voice. We've got a problem. Marina threw on a robe and opened the door. Dante was there too, his phone in hand, his expression grim. Vincent was supposed to deliver the evidence files 2 hours ago. He's not answering his phone. Marina's stomach dropped. What does that mean? It means either he got caught or he got cold feet or Dante didn't finish the sentence. Or Marco got to him. Marina finished. We have to assume that's the case. Which means Marco might know we have the original files. So what do we do? Dante was quiet for a long moment. Then, we proceed anyway. Vincent has a dead man switch. If he doesn't check in every 12 hours, the files automatically upload to a secure cloud and send access codes to 5 different people, me included. Even if Marco got to him, the evidence still exists. But do we have it in time for the meeting? That's the question. Dante checked his watch. The meeting starts in 8 hours. Vincent's dead man's switch triggers in 6. If he's gone, we'll get the files with 2 hours to spare. And if he just got delayed, then he'll come through. Vincent solid. But Marina heard the doubt in Dante's voice. In this world, solid people disappeared all the time. Santos leaned against the doorframe. We need a backup plan. The backup plan is Marina still goes in, but she goes in with testimony instead of hard evidence. She tells the families what happened. The planted jewelry, the frame job, Marco's betrayal. She makes them question him. Testimony against physical evidence? Against Marco's prepared narrative? Santos shook his head. That's not a backup plan. That's suicide. You have a better idea?
Yeah.
We hit Marco before the meeting. Take him out of play entirely. Dante's expression darkened. That starts a war. A real one. Streets running red. The families won't stand for that kind of chaos. The families won't stand for being robbed either. You've got proof Marco's been stealing from them. Use it. Turn them against him before tonight. There's not enough time to reach all the families, to convince them. Then reach one. The one that matters most. Santos pulled up something on his phone.
Vittorio.
The eldest. The one the others respect. Get to him first, show him everything, let him call the meeting himself. Then it's not you versus Marco. It's Vittorio holding court. Dante considered this. Marina watched his face, saw the calculations happening behind his eyes. Vittorio doesn't take meetings, Dante said slowly. Not unscheduled ones. Not without proper channels. So, we use improper channels. We make him listen.
How?
Santos smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. I know where he gets his morning coffee. Same place. Every day. 7 a.m. Old man's a creature of habit. We intercept him there. Marina checked the clock on the wall.
6:47 morgens.
That's in 13 minutes, she said. Then we better move fast. Santos was already heading for the door. Dante looked at Marina. You don't have to come. This part, approaching Vittorio uninvited, this could go bad fast. Everything goes bad fast in your world. I'm coming. They were in the car 4 minutes later, Santos driving like he was fleeing hell itself. The coffee shop was in Little Italy, a small place that probably hadn't changed its decor since 1975. There, Dante pointed. An elderly man sat at an outdoor table despite the November chill, reading a newspaper, a cappuccino steaming in front of him. He wore an expensive coat and a fedora that belonged to another era. 2 bodyguards flanked him at nearby tables. He's Maid, Santos murmured. Those bodyguards have already clocked us. Stay in the car, Dante told Marina. If this goes wrong. I know. Drive away, get Lily, disappear. Dante and Santos got out. Walked toward Vittorio with their hands visible, non-threatening. Marina watched through the windshield, her heart in her throat. This was it. The moment everything either came together or fell completely apart. Vittorio looked up from his newspaper as Dante approached. And smiled. Dante Caldero, Vittorio said, his voice carrying the rasp of age and authority. I was wondering when you'd crawl out of whatever hole you've been hiding in. Dante stopped 3 feet from the table, hands still visible. Santos hung back, watching the bodyguards. You're not surprised to see me? Surprised?
No.
I've been in this business 60 years, boy. I know the smell of a coup. Marco's been circling like a vulture for months. Vittorio took a sip of his cappuccino.
Seat.
Before my men get nervous and do something we'll all regret. Dante sat. The bodyguards relaxed slightly, but kept their hands near their weapons. Then Dante said, about Marco. I know he declared you dead, without a body. I know he's been making promises he can't keep to people who should know better. I know he's rushing a vote tonight because he's afraid. Vittorio's ancient eyes were sharp. Question is, what do you know? Everything. The theft, the offshore accounts, the Russian deal. I have proof. Financial records showing he's been skimming from joint operations across all 5 families. Proof Marco will claim is fabricated. Original server files. Unaltered timestamps. Transaction records that match with the Russians' own books. Records I'm betting they'll confirm if pressed. Dante leaned forward. He's stolen from you, Vittorio. From all of you. And he framed an innocent woman to cover his tracks. For the first time, Vittorio's expression shifted, a flicker of interest. The cleaning lady, the one who's been running with you. Her name is Marina Torres. She's a single mother who worked for me for 3 years. Never stole a dime. Marco planted my late wife's jewelry in her cart to justify firing her because she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And you care about this because… Dante was quiet for a moment. Because she gave me her last $5 when I was running for my life. Because she's in danger because of my organization, my failures. Because he paused. Because it's the right thing to do. Vittorio actually laughed, a dry, crackling sound. The right thing. Haven't heard that phrase in 30 years. Not from anyone in our world. He gestured to his bodyguards. Bring the woman. I want to see her. Marina's door opened before she could react. One of the bodyguards gestured politely but firmly.
Mom.
She walked to the table on shaking legs. Vittorio studied her like she was an artifact in a museum. Sit, child. She's Saturday. Tell me what happened. In your own words. No coaching from Dante. Marina took a breath. Then she told him everything. The job she'd loved, the day she was fired, the jewelry she'd never seen before, the destroyed reputation. She told him about her daughter, about the $5 at the gas station, about watching Dante nearly die in an alley. She told him about men shooting up her apartment, about running, about learning to hold a gun because she had no other choice. She didn't cry, didn't beg, just told the truth. When she finished, Vittorio was silent for a long moment. You know what we are, he finally said. You know the things we do, the people we hurt. Why should I care about one cleaning lady's reputation? Because if you don't, you're telling every person in your organization that loyalty means nothing, that you can be erased on a whim, framed for crimes you didn't commit, thrown away like garbage. Marina met his eyes. And once people believe that, why would anyone stay loyal to you? Vittorio's eyebrows rose.
She's smart, Dante.
I can see why you kept her around. She's brave, Dante corrected. There's a difference. Vittorio pulled out his phone, an old model, no touch screen. He dialed a number from memory.
Giuseppe.
Yes, it's me. Tell Marco the meeting is moved up. Noon instead of 8. Because I'm calling it. That's why. Vittorio's yes. Same place. Tell all the families. Attendance is mandatory. He hung up. Noon. Dante checked his watch. That's 3 hours. 3 hours Marco won't have to prepare. 3 hours he won't have to spin his narrative. Vittorio stood, his bodyguards immediately flanking him. You'll present your evidence in front of everyone. The woman too, she'll tell her story. Then we vote. If Marco's guilty of what you claim, he dies. If you're lying, you die. Fair. Fair, Dante agreed. And the woman? Walks free regardless. Her debt is paid. She gets her name back. Vittorio considered this, then nodded. Agreed. She's a civilian. She doesn't belong in our world. He looked at Marina. You have 3 hours to decide if you really want to do this. Once you walk into that room, there's no protection I can offer if things go sideways. Understand? I understand. Good.
Noon.
Don't be late. In our world, tardiness is a capital offense. He walked away, his bodyguards creating a barrier between him and the world. Santos let out a breath.
Well,
That went better than expected. He's testing us, Dante said quietly. Moving the meeting up means less time for Vincent's files to come through if he's delayed. It means we might have to go in with incomplete evidence. Or it means Vittorio wants to see who scrambles, us or Marco. Either way, we're committed now. Santos checked his phone. Speaking of Vincent, still nothing. Marina felt the weight of the religious medal in her pocket. 3 hours. 3 hours to prepare for the most important moment of her life. They went back to the hotel. Dante spent the time reviewing every file they had, preparing his presentation. Santos made calls, coordinating with the loyal men, setting up observation positions. Marina called Vincent's wife to check on Lily. She's fine, the woman said gently. We're making cookies. She's happy. Keep her there until you hear from Santos. No matter what. I understand.
and Marina?
Whatever you're doing, thank you. Vincent believed in Dante. Believed he was worth saving. I'm glad someone's fighting for him. Marina hung up before her voice could break. She still didn't know if Vincent was alive or dead. Didn't know if their evidence would hold. Didn't know if she'd survive the next 3 hours. At 11:30 a.m., Dante's phone finally buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Files attached. V didn't make it. They got him last night, but he died protecting these. Make it count. V's friend. Dante's hands clenched around the phone. Vincent's dead. The room went silent. He died getting us this, Dante said quietly, forcing himself to focus. We make it count. We finish what he started. He downloaded the files. They were perfect, unaltered timestamps, complete metadata, irrefutable proof of every transaction Marco had made. At 11:45, they left for Vittorio's. The restaurant was in the heart of Little Italy, a place that looked like a tourist trap but was actually the most secure location in the city. No recording devices worked inside. The walls were shielded. No weapons except those belonging to each family's personal guards. Marina wore her black dress. Dante wore a suit Santos had procured. They looked like they belonged at a business meeting. Which, in a way, they did. The front entrance was blocked by Marco's men. But Vittorio had sent word. Dante and Marina were to use the kitchen entrance. They walked through the back, past cooks who didn't look up, past servers who'd seen too much to be surprised by anything. The private dining room was already full. 5 tables arranged in a circle, each representing one of the families. Vittorio sat at the head. Marco stood in the center, mid-speech, confident.
He stopped when he saw Dante.
The room froze.
Impossible, Marco breathed.
You're dead? That's what you told everyone. Dante walked into the center of the circle, Marina at his side. But here I am. Funny how that works. Marco's hand moved toward his jacket, but Vittorio's voice cracked like a whip. No weapons. Not in my house. You know the rules, Marco. Marco's hand stopped. His expression shifted from shock to cold calculation. This is a trick. Vittorio, he's trying to speak. Same as you. I allowed you your say. Now he gets his. Vittorio gestured to Dante. The floor is yours. Dante pulled out a tablet. 3 days ago, Marina Torres was fired from my household staff for allegedly stealing my late wife's jewelry. Today, I'm here to tell you that was a lie. She never stole anything. The jewelry was planted by Marco Santini to frame her. He showed the surveillance footage, the clean version unaltered. Marco at Marina's cleaning cart, placing the jewelry inside. The timestamp clear and verified. This woman lost her job, her reputation, everything, because Marco needed her gone.
Why?
Because she accidentally cleaned a room adjacent to where Marco was stealing $40 million from our organization. He pulled up the financial records. Transaction after transaction. Offshore accounts. Russian contacts. Every dollar traced. Marco has been systematically robbing all of us. Skimming from joint operations, redirecting funds, building his own empire with our money. And when I discovered it, he tried to have me killed and declare himself the new boss. The room erupted in angry voices. Questions shouted from every table. Marco's face went from pale to red. Lies. All of it fabricated. He's desperate, clinging to power. Then explain this, Dante pulled up one final document. A communication between you and Sergei Volkov, dated 6 days ago. You promising him my territory in exchange for his support. Signed with your personal encryption key. Marco had no answer.
Vittorio stood. Marina Torres.
Step forward. Marina did, her heart hammering.
Tell us.
In your own words, what happened to you? And Marina told them. Told them everything, the frame job, the firing, the bounty on her head. Told them about her daughter, about being hunted, about watching her life destroyed over money and power she'd never wanted any part of. When she finished, Vittorio looked at Marco. What'd he say? Marco's expression had gone cold. Cornered. She's lying to protect him. She's his woman now, everyone knows. I'm not his anything, Marina interrupted. I'm a mother trying to clear her name. That's all I've ever been. Vittorio sat back down. We vote. All in favor of Marco's claim to leadership. Silence. All in favor of reinstating Dante Caldero. Every hand rose except Marco's. It's decided, Vittorio looked at Marco. You stole from us. You killed one of Dante's men, Vincent, who died protecting the evidence. You framed an innocent woman. The penalty is clear. Marco's guard stepped back, abandoning him. Wait, Marco said, real fear finally showing. We can negotiate. No, Dante said simply. We can't. He nodded to Gino, who moved forward with 2 other men. Marina looked away as they escorted Marco out the back entrance. She didn't want to know what happened next.
Didn't need to. Vittorio stood. Marina Torres.
Your name is cleared. Dante will provide you with documentation, references, compensation for your troubles. You're free to go. Leave this world behind. Thank you, Marina whispered. She walked out through the kitchen, back into the November sunlight. She was free. 1 week later, Marina stood outside Lily's new school, watching her daughter skip down the steps with a drawing clutched in her hand. The building was in a better neighborhood, the kind with actual playground equipment and art programs. The kind Marina had always dreamed of affording. Mommy, look what I made. Lily held up a crayon drawing of a house with flowers and a sun. Miss Rebecca says I'm really good at art. It's beautiful, baby. Marina took the drawing, adding it to the growing collection in her bag. Ready to go home. Can we get ice cream? It's November. Ice cream doesn't have seasons, Mommy. Marina laughed, really laughed, for what felt like the first time in weeks. Okay, ice cream it is. They walked to the small parlor 2 blocks away. Lily chattered about her new friends, about the book they were reading in class, about everything and nothing. Normal. Blessedly, beautifully normal. Marina's phone buzzed as Lily demolished a chocolate cone. A text from an unknown number. Package delivered. Check your apartment. She'd learned not to be surprised by mysterious messages anymore. After ice cream, they took the bus to their new apartment. Nothing fancy but clean, safe, in a building with actual security. Dante had arranged it through one of his legitimate real estate holdings. No strings attached, he'd said. Just a fresh start. On the doorstep sat a box with her name on it. Inside were documents. Official letters of reference from Caldero Property Management praising her 3 years of exemplary service. A sealed letter of apology for the administrative error that had led to her termination. And a check that made Marina's hand shake. The note with it was simple. For 3 years of excellent work, plus pain and suffering. You earned every penny. It was enough to cover 6 months of rent and expenses. Enough to give Lily the Christmas she deserved. Enough to breathe. Marina called the number Dante had given her for emergencies only. He answered on the second ring. This is too much, she said. It's what you're owed. Consider it back pay with interest. Dante. Marina. His voice was gentle but firm. You lost your job, your reputation, almost your life because of my world. That check doesn't begin to cover what you went through, but it's a start. She was quiet for a moment, watching Lily color at the kitchen table, safe and happy and unaware of how close they'd come to losing everything. How are you? She finally asked. Rebuilding. The families agreed to new oversight protocols. Transparent accounting. No more Marco-style power grabs, he paused. Vincent's family is taken care of. His kids will have college funds. His wife will never want for anything. He died protecting us. He died protecting what was right. There's honor in that. Marina heard the weight in Dante's voice. He'd lost more than money or power in this war. He'd lost people. Friends. The illusion that his world could ever be safe. And you? Dante asked. How's the job search?
Marina smiled.
Actually, I have an interview tomorrow. A commercial cleaning company. They saw the references you provided. The manager said they're impressed. You'll get it. You're the best there is. I clean toilets, Dante. You do it better than anyone I've ever met. Don't undersell yourself. After they hung up, Marina sat at the table with Lily, helping her with homework. Simple addition problems. Spelling words. The mundane, precious routine of normal life. 2 weeks later, Marina got the job. The pay was better than before, the hours more reasonable, and nobody looked at her like she was a thief. She worked hard, kept her head down, and slowly rebuilt the reputation Marco had tried to destroy. Lily thrived in her new school, made friends, brought home good grades, asked fewer questions about why they'd moved, why Mommy seemed different now. Marina told her they'd been on an adventure, and now the adventure was over. Lily seemed satisfied with that answer. Kids were resilient that way. One Saturday afternoon, Marina was cleaning her apartment. Old habits died hard. When someone knocked. Through the peephole, she saw Santos. Is everything okay? She asked, opening the door. Is Dante? Everyone's fine. Just dropping something off, he handed her an envelope. From the boss. Inside was a card, expensive stationery with embossed lettering. An invitation to a memorial service for Vincent Choi to be held at a church in Chinatown. Your presence would honor his memory, it read. Will you go? Santos asked.
Yes.
He saved our lives. The least I can do is pay my respects.
Santos nodded approvingly.
For what it's worth, you did good, Marina. Not a lot of people could have done what you did. I didn't have a choice. You did. You could have run. Could have taken the offer to disappear with new identities. But you stayed and fought, he smiled. That takes guts. Vincent would have liked you. After Santos left, Marina looked at the invitation for a long time. This was closure. The final connection to a world she'd never wanted to be part of. But it was also a reminder that good people existed even in dark places. That honor and loyalty weren't just words. That sometimes the right thing and the dangerous thing were the same thing. 3 weeks later, the memorial service was beautiful. Hundreds of people came, family, friends, colleagues from both the legitimate and illegitimate sides of Vincent's life. Dante gave a eulogy that made grown men cry. Marina sat in the back with Lily, who was on her best behavior in her Sunday dress. When it was time to pay respects to the family, Marina approached Vincent's widow.
I'm Marina Torres.
Your husband. I know who you are, the woman took Marina's hands. Vincent called me the night before. He told me he was doing something important. Something that mattered. He said if anything happened, I should know it was worth it. Marina's throat tightened. He was a hero. He was a good man in a complicated world. Thank you for fighting for what he died protecting. After the service, Dante caught up with Marina in the parking lot. You came, he said. Of course I came. They stood in awkward silence for a moment. So much had happened between them, but they barely knew each other outside of crisis and chaos. Lily's getting big, Dante finally said, watching the 6-year-old chase pigeons across the parking lot. Kids do that. She's lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have her. Marina looked at him. Are you okay? Really? Dante considered the question. I will be. The organization is stable. The families are cooperating. I'm implementing changes, nothing illegal, nothing that hurts innocent people. It's not redemption, but it's better. That's something. It is. He pulled out a familiar crumpled $5 bill from his wallet. I've been meaning to return this. Marina stared at the bill, the one she'd given him at the gas station a lifetime ago. You kept it? As a reminder that sometimes the smallest gesture can change everything, he pressed it into her hand. You saved my life that night, Marina. Not just by giving me money, but by showing me that good people still exist. That not everyone in my orbit gets corrupted. I'm not that good. I learned to use a gun. I walked into a room full of criminals and didn't flinch. You protected your daughter. That's not corruption. That's love. Dante smiled, a real smile, not the grim expressions she'd grown used to. Take care of yourself, Marina Torres. And if you ever need anything, I know where to find you. He nodded and walked away, back to his world of expensive suits and dangerous decisions. Marina watched him go, then looked down at the $5 bill in her hand. She'd given it away when she had nothing else to give. Now it was back, but she had so much more.
Safety.
Stability.
Hope.
Mommy, can we get pizza? Lily ran up, breathless and happy. Yeah, baby. We can get pizza. They walked to Marina's car, a used Honda she'd bought with her first paycheck from the new job. Nothing fancy, but it was hers. Paid for with honest work. As they drove away from the church, Lily hummed along to the radio. Marina glanced in the rearview mirror one last time, but Dante was already gone. 6 months later, Marina stood in her apartment, unpacking boxes in what would be Lily's new bedroom. They were moving again, but this time by choice, to an even better neighborhood. Marina had been promoted to supervisor at her company. The pay increase meant possibilities she'd never dared imagine. On her dresser was a framed photo, Marina and Lily at Navy Pier, smiling in front of the Ferris wheel. Normal.
Happy. Free.
Next to it was the $5 bill, pressed between glass like the treasure it had become. A reminder of the night that changed everything. Her phone rang. An unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Hello. Marina, it's Dante. I hope I'm not disturbing you. No, I was just unpacking. We're moving to a bigger place. That's wonderful. I'm calling because I wanted you to know I'm stepping back from the organization, turning day-to-day operations over to Gino. I'm going legitimate, real estate development, the parts of the business that don't require looking over my shoulder. Marina sat down, surprised. That's really good, Dante. I've been thinking about what you said. About Lily deserving better. About how fear is no way to live. He paused. You were right. So I'm making changes. Real ones. I'm proud of you. I never thanked you properly. For everything. You paid me very well for my troubles. That's not what I mean. You showed me that there's another way. That courage doesn't have to come from violence. That the strongest thing you can do is protect what matters. His voice was warm. You're remarkable, Marina Torres. I'm really not. I'm just a mom who got lucky. Luck had nothing to do with it. But I won't argue, she heard him smile. Take care of yourself. Take care of that amazing daughter of yours. And if you ever need anything, I know where to find you. They said goodbye. Marina hung up and looked around her apartment. Her real apartment, earned through her own work, filled with her own things. She'd survived a war she never asked for, cleared her name, saved her daughter, and somewhere along the way, she discovered she was stronger than she'd ever imagined. Lily bounced into the room. Mommy, Mrs. Chun called. She wants to know if we want to come to dinner tomorrow. Mrs. Chun had found them again after the dust settled, had hugged Marina and cried and asked no questions about the week they'd vanished. Good neighbors were treasures. Tell her yes. And we'll bring dessert. As Lily ran off to call back, Marina looked out the window at the Chicago skyline. Somewhere in that maze of buildings, Dante was rebuilding his life too. Trying to be better. Trying to matter in ways that didn't require violence. She hoped he'd succeed. But even if he didn't, Marina knew she would. Because she'd already proven the most important thing, that she could face darkness and not become dark herself. That she could fight for what mattered without losing who she was. She was Marina Torres. Single mother. Cleaning supervisor. Survivor. And that was more than enough.
The end.